All right, everybody. Dave Weigel, Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. A little different intro and opener today for the main discussion, really around I thought it was absolutely just never going to happen. They were just going to no way, release the body cam footage because I know what the body cam footage says. You know, and then we realized what they did. They only released 3 of the 5 videos, and they were kind of sly, the way that they actually did it. It looks like, the cops walking up for the first time, and I'm on the phone, and I say, hey, the police are actually here. I got to call you back. Kind of looks like that's the beginning of the whole ordeal. Yet when you watch it a little bit further, the first thing they say is, here's what the decision is that's come from my supervisors. What happened to the videos of Mr. Weigel? What happened? Zuelia, what happened? What is your story? There you have it, everybody. There you have it. Okay, but, we've got different journalist views that we're going to evaluate because I think it's really, really important. All right. There's, journalism, we've said here. Journalists, investigative journalists are the regulator of last resort. That's what we are. That's what we are here. When the government is seized up, it's been the investigative journalists of yesteryear that really made this country what it is. And these people take on great risks in doing, the jobs that they do. Rich Luthman is a hero to this country. All right. Takes a lot of shit like me. But let me tell you something. I've looked high and low all around the world. And now, thank God, there's a heck of a lot of people with a little different dynamic. They've got nothing to worry about. The Bar Association sending anybody to Belgium to pick them up for their journalism. So found a way around, you guys. And I hope this country really understands what a hero Richard Luthman is. We're going to talk about the good, bad, and ugly here, as we always do, because, truth and transparency, you can't be half pregnant. Okay. You can't. It's just how it works. That's where the equilibrium is. Hello, everybody. Hello, Kathy, Aaron McFarland, always here. Christine DiMaggio. Thank you, everybody. Want to put a shout out to all of our European listeners, watchers now from España, Portugal. Sorry. I'm trying to say it. Francais. Ireland. I'm not even going to try these accents. It's just ridiculous. You would think coming from New York that I would be able to have a few of them down. From Brazil, welcome. Colombia, Australia, New Zealand. These are all the people that have been blowing up my inbox. The system must be recognizing that I'm over here in Europe, and they're able to see a lot more of our stuff. And thank God for it. And just want to let you guys know that we are in the process of opening up a global warrior project holding company at the top, of which the Warrior Project New York or US is going to be one arm. Europe, Asia, all the other areas, because it's parental alienation is a universal problem. What's going on in the United States of America is different. It is what happens in this human experiment of when you create a town without a police force, when you give an imperfect human being a robe and total discretion to be a king, and then have no regulation, backed up by the largest regulatory fraud of all times. So again, look at this as a human experiment. And this is what this is. I think the Warrior Project is nothing more than the biggest clinical study of all times. And this is the biggest story in the last 100 years. No doubt. No doubt. You have an industry of family terrorism and wealth hijacking going on in this country for some 40 years that they have been able to keep quiet through mafia type tactics, pure mafia type tactics. And nobody knows about it? Well, there's a lot more people knowing about it. There's a lot of people interested in knowing about it. There's a lot of people that understand that this Constitution that we have is on life support, absolute life support. And one of the other things that I am doing is I'm opening up a European division of my investment firm because I think if Donald Trump is elected to a third term, the Constitution is officially kaput. And my estimation and my guess is that you're going to see half of the wealth in the United States leave. Not right away, but we are nothing without our Constitution. Our Constitution really is the heart and soul of what has made this a great country. And nobody knows that better than our special guest. I'm going to bring him on here right now. Rich Luthman, thank you for making the time, sir. Bringing you on. Let's get a better viewpoint here. No. Can we move this in a way that doesn't have the good gracious, this stuff all over his face? Thought we had that. Let's try and see if we can't do it this way. No, I think you have to move the whole thing. I thought we had this down. Okay, all right, let me see if I could just.
That works for now, Dave. How you doing?
Close. Let me remove this side. Let me remove this. I hate to make you so small, Rich, because it's ridiculous. You're a much bigger fish in this pond than I am. Rich, how long have you been doing following family court? When did you start?
I really started in earnest. There we go. That's a lot better. I really started in earnest.
Great job,
probably about 5 years ago, 2021, covering the family courts and doing so. Actually, I was working with Frank Parlato, and so I kind of broke into journalism, and he did a little bit of family court, and he's actually excellent. He's one of the top people in family court, and through family court is where I learned a lot about investigative journalism. I have the legal background, obviously, but you find out in the family courts, it is its own. It's like the wild.
Go back to where you were. You had it before, girls. Go back to where you were.
There we go. We're good.
Leave it there. Thank you.
It's like the Wild West, because you throw out everything you think you know about justice and the Bill of Rights and constitutional protections, and when you go to family court, none of that exists. I have people that tell me all the time, I wish I was charged with a crime, because at least I would have rights. At least I'd have to read me my Miranda warnings. At least I'd have I know what I'm facing. You get to family court and you have the discretion of judges that is terrible, in the sense that there are a few good ones. That's not to say that everywhere there are a few good ones, but in the family courts, the judges are usually the bottom of the barrel. It's either rookie hazing, right? People go there right when they get on the bench in order to get to the criminal term or the commercial division, the civil term.
Oh, it's much more sinister.
Or you have these people that are just morons that can hack it anywhere else, and they're there, and their job is to basically, we're going to make you a judge to rubber stamp, and that's what they do. It's a terrible situation. So
I love your perspective, Rich, because it's always so balanced. It's always so matter of fact. It's very legally based. And for those that are just tuning in, especially from Europe and around the world, let's give you some background here, because if you've been doing some research about Dave Weigel and Rich Luthman, you will see that there is a large vested interest in trying to take down the validity of the machine that we have built. Okay, little quick background. This man, Rich Luthman, changed my life. I spent 9 years in the family courts and went through 7 attorneys, going through all the layers of pulling the onion and figuring out and listening to all the sage advice, which, of course, you listen to your attorney. Okay, you're not a lawyer, you listen to your attorney. And that's why I say, to people all the time, I said, just think about what they've created. How smart does this system have to be able to have a cash for kids industry, a family terrorism industry that they've been able to keep quiet underneath that they've been able to corrupt the regulators, the politicians, corporate America. Only the Bar Association is attached to all of these entities there. And how many years did it take for them to be fully corrupted here? And I'm meeting a lot of Europeans here, and they're talking about their horror stories with it's a lot of parental alienation and a lot of jurisdiction jumping. All right. But this man, Rich Luthman, after I think it was on maybe the 5th seizure, Joan from Connecticut, Joan Zaynard, introduced me.
Joan Claude Zaynard. Yep.
Joan Claude Zaynard introduced me to Rich Luthman. And I just kept saying to her, and I was saying, and this was shortly after that I just became, pro se. When I tried, and I did, I submitted 1,600 files, stayed up 3 nights, loading 1,600 files. And I said, I caught the other opposing attorney and I stopped counting at 150 lies, where I had the transcripts and attached the proof that these were lies. And she looked at me in a way, and I will never forget the look on her eyes. It was like, you stupid motherfucker. We're robbing you. What don't you get? We're robbing you, right? This is theater, right? And I just sat back and I was like, bing, oh my God. This is a dog as a cat. This is something totally different. This is not a court of law. All right. This is organized crime that's dressed up as a court of law. And this is theater. And this is theater. And the only person, just to put it in perspective, I called everywhere. All right. I've called Sarah Wallace probably 162 times in the last year for a follow-up on Channel 4. She did one great piece on who was the judge, Rich, in Midtown?
Kathleen Waterman Marshall. She's actually up for re-election this year in New York Supreme in Manhattan, New York County.
Yeah. And they did their typical NBC. They caught her coming out of, I don't know, a gym or something like that. And Sarah Wallace is like, I don't know, she's not a young woman. And if she's 100 pounds soaking wet, and then what did Waterman Marshall say? I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. Stop questioning me. I don't feel safe. They got all their tricks up in the book. But she did a great job, Sarah Wallace, in saying that, number one, her article, and this was out, and I would encourage people to take a look at this. Frank Parlato had a lot to do with putting this out. Thank you, Frank Parlato. Where on a separate matter, just following up on this, and she highlighted this doctor that works with autistic children and has a particular dog that is there, a therapy dog, to work with them. And Waterman Marshall ordered him to pay his wife's attorney's fees directly, which Rich will get into the disgusting illegalities about that. He said he couldn't get it out of his retirement plan. She sent him to Rikers Island like they did to me, but I believe he stayed in there 6 days.
Yeah.
And I often ask the question, I like to paint a picture here to people. And the common thing is, what happens when you create a town without a police force? We've known for 100,000 years you can't have society without rules, without laws, right? Otherwise, it's just whichever warlord is in power that week, right? When he was being sentenced, what struck me here and what answers that question of when you give this godlike power to these imperfect, disgusting human beings like Waterman Marshall, right? The nice doctor simply said, I live alone with a dog. All right. Can arrangements be made to make sure my dog is fed and doesn't die? And Waterman Marshall looked at him and did shit. And what actually happened was the dog almost died. It was yelping so loud over 2 days with no food or water that the neighbors finally heard the dog. The super basically broke the door down and saved the dog's life. How much time, Rich, how much effort would that have caused her? Is there any legitimate reason in your mind legally? You have a vast legal background. Is there any legal basis for what she did?
Well, she doesn't really care. That's the point. The point is you put on a robe and you can be a judge, but the question is whether you're compassionate and whether you care, right? And a judge who cares
That's
has
a
every
crime. That's a crime.
yeah.
That's killing a dog.
Well, that's the problem that we have. That's the problem we have with a lot of these courts. And
Attempted murder of a dog.
I'm going to digress for a second because I want to go back to let the audience know where these family courts come from, right?
Please,
If
please.
you remember, when did the family courts enter into the social consciousness? The big watershed moment was Kramer versus Kramer. Remember the movie Kramer versus Kramer?
Right.
That's when divorce really started. It was like the 70s into the 80s when the divorces started to really become a business. Before that, you would hear about divorces, but divorces were for millionaires and billionaires. I don't think there were even billionaires back then, but for millionaires, very
Right.
wealthy people who had lots of money, Upper East Side type things. People didn't have divorces. Only very, very wealthy people had divorces, and it was its own little cottage industry. But then in the 70s and into the 80s, they decided, well, we can scale out divorce. A bunch of lawyers got together in New York and decided, let's make sure that the divorce can fit every size. And so that's when divorce really took off. And how divorce took off was because it's a payoff system. You said it. It's no different than organized crime. Okay, the goal is basically to extract as much wealth as you can out of the marriage, right? That's what their goal is. They come in, and you have lawyers that come in, and then they have appointed people that come in, right? All different types of appointments, guardians ad litem, and you have different types of therapists, and you have this and that. And the goal of everybody that comes into the case is to get somebody else appointed. And the beauty of it for their little mafia
level
is
of ethics
is that
involved with the kids is just
the,
astounding.
the beauty of it for their mafia is that they're all buddies. It's a carousel. One day you're the lawyer, the next day you're the guardian ad litem, the next day you're a court evaluator, the next day you're this, the next day you're that. And that's the system that we have now. And for people to be able to live in that system, they live off the tit of this corrupt system, and they're not the best and brightest in their fields. If you're a therapist that does family court work, if
No,
you're
you got to be corruptible. You got to be
you're
corruptible.
probably but you're lazy. A lot of times you're lazy and stupid. Divorce lawyers are not going to ever argue. You cannot find me a divorce lawyer that's litigated in New York Supreme Court, Manhattan Supreme Court, that has argued at the Supreme Court of the United States. I challenge you. Maybe there's one. Find me one. Find me one that has that level of ability, of talent, of the highest echelons of law. No, these are people that it's a smash and grab job. Yeah, and they put on a nice suit, and then they window dress it very well.
And my role. Okay, I'm a structures expert on Wall Street. My job is to analyze complex organizations and systems, and basically, in a nutshell, figure out who's lying and how they're really getting paid. And then I position hundreds of millions of dollars because on the basis that lies don't age very well. Okay. And that's how I've been able to, I don't pretend to be a lawyer. We do not give legal advice here. In fact, the advice we give here is you cannot get the mafia to rule against itself. So, and I know everybody hates when I take this obnoxious approach, but I'm trying to how long are we going to do this? It's 35 years. I'd rather be hated and get the message through. all right, to do something to stop this stuff, okay, then continue this. People have been bitching online since Facebook started, all right? We haven't gotten anywhere, all right? One thing old media did better than new media is it gathered the entire world around. Here are the 5 main stories that the world needs to be paying attention to. And look at what's going on here. Maybe we get 2.5 million views out of this or whatever, but 7 billion people, it's not enough. All right. This is the biggest story on the planet. We have proven through math and science that the U.S. Bar Association is the largest regulatory fraud of all times. It's in math and science. It's on our page. It's on the spreadsheets. It's on their annual reports. It is here on the blockchain forever. It's never going away. You can never explain policies confirmed 51 times, all 51 jurisdictions, policies to invalidate 98%, okay, 97.8% to be exact, of all written complaints. So really, Rich, how many people have called up and wanted to write a complaint against their attorney and said, screw it, all right, what's it going to do? It's not going to do anything. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Complaints
so
against
it's really
attorneys.
99.9999%.
Yeah. Complaints against attorneys, complaints against judges, right? Complaints against all sorts of people. And you said it, the criminals are regulating themselves. There's no cops. And then we look at some of the judicial complaints. We've gone through that. But we look at the judicial complaints, and I have several stories that I've written about where I have perjury by judges. I have them in sworn testimony where they've perjured themselves, demonstrable perjury, submitted to, in this case, the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Correct.
And they give you a 1-page form letter that says, we don't see anything here, bye-bye. Get out of here. That's basically what they said. We see nothing that's actionable here. And that's what they do. They're there to protect the judges and to protect the dirty lawyers with a semblance of process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that they can say, well, we tried the process and that's that. Mm-hmm. It's really a disgrace. But the big thing, and I'll tell you this, Dave, too, you said something about media, which is very important. People have to keep in mind. There has never been mainstream media coverage of family court matters, right? If you remember, this really started in the 70s, right? Maybe before that, divorce was a big. I'll tell you why. It was a big taboo subject for a while. Then it became a big thing, and they'll talk about divorce. But there is an unspoken rule with the mainstream media that they're not going to cover divorce cases. And when they do cover them, they botch them miserably. They tell a narrative that is actually antithetical to family court reform. They actually usually take up the side of the judges and then the system.
Right.
Right. So that becomes the issue. They stay away from it, or when they do cover it, the Rucky case is a famous example. Mike Volpe, and we're going to talk about him in a second. Mike Volpe covered the Rucky case, a very famous Minnesota divorce case. And at the same time, Law and Crime was covering it.
Yeah.
Right. Abrams, he was covering it. Dan Abrams. And when Dan Abrams covered it, and what Mike Volpe covered were night and day. And to this day, Mike Volpe, keeps on peppering them about how they knowingly, just sold a bill of goods to all their viewers on Dateline and on Law and Crime. That's how they do it.
And I want to come out right here and sit there and say, you might have read that, I'm not the biggest fan of Mike Volpe, the way that he has treated me personally, but that is not to take away the value of the work that the man has done in this community. He has done a ton to raise awareness. Okay. I just happen to think he's a little bit of a pushy when it comes to going all the way in actually calling out. When you're going to sit there and look at passport stamps and say allegedly or supposedly, no, come on, Mike, go out on a limb right there. You certainly did when you said, well, it's certainly in the article that he wrote. It's certainly clear that there's nothing going on here, so neither will be convicted. You know why I did that? Because he knows I'm in Europe and knows I can't come back to the United States. And when I don't show up for court, he's going to be like, well, Weigel did it to himself. Weigel did it to himself. And why is he this way? Because he's a man and he's jealous, and he failed out of Wall Street, and he's jealous of me because I crushed him in the first year I've been doing this, okay? And it's old school, just ridiculous shit. And this is part and parcel of the problem in this community, that people cannot simply work together. One of the things we are going to post to the bottom here is the entire text string between myself and Mike Volpe. So everyone has the opportunity to hear and read for themselves the exact conversation, nothing left out. What we are going to post here as well is my analysis when he threatened me and said, "You lied. You signed the promise to appear note and you knew you were arrested." Rich, who the hell has ever heard of a half of an arrest? Okay. When we go into the video, I want everybody to notice the first two things that happen. Okay. The first two things that happen is me sitting there saying, "Am I being arrested?" And the cop says, "No." That's it. No. One word answer. Then I got up and I said, "Well, then get the fuck out of my house." And then he says, "If you're going to act like that, then you will be arrested." Second confirmation in my mind that I have not been arrested that day. Is it fair to say, Rich, that when the first two things that you hear is you are not being arrested, and you're not a criminal, so you're not familiar with, there's no mugshot, you're not brought down to the statement.
You were not read your Miranda rights. You would know. Everybody's seen Law and Order, right? You know, read him his rights. You know, none of that happened, right?
Yeah. And Mike Volpe puts in there that Dave Weigel's been saying, and he combined two things, that he's not been arrested and didn't sign a promise to appear. He put those two together. No, Mike Volpe. Okay, I said I was never arrested that day, over and over and over. Maybe once I said I didn't sign a promise to appear. What, I'm sitting there paying attention to the name of the form that I'm signing.
Dave, let's take a step back. This is the biggest news. Take a step back for the audience. Okay, let's calm it down. I know you're passionate about this, obviously.
Because we got children's lives on the line now. We've got the world watching.
I got it. And your side is coming through. Let's take it back and let's tell everybody what's going on.
Mike has been invited to this, and Mike is still welcome to join.
Yeah, let's take it back. Talk to us about New Haven, Connecticut. You know, for anybody here, because I have a bunch of audience that really doesn't know the story. They know a little bit about it, but they don't know the story like a lot of the Warriors do. You have a situation where your daughter is going to high school, and she has a friend, and they're teenagers. They're about 15 years old at the time, 16 years old, and he's a boy, and he basically befriends your daughter and confides in her that he's gay.
They were best friends.
Yeah, best friends, and she says, "I'm gay. I'm 16 years old and I'm gay." And I'm having a real hard time at home, you know, because my father is, you know, he's Latin and he's very old school.
I'll back up a second and just give a little bit of context.
Yeah, all right? That's what I want.
I got my kids back 27 months ago. And the one thing that I love is when my daughter goes to the nurse, she calls me in Manhattan, and I'm there in 2 hours. And this is not to say anything about my ex. It's about to say my relationship with my daughter. She asked me to take her to the gyno, all right, which is a very uncomfortable thing for dad. I'm going to tell you right now, all right, but I adore that I have this relationship. And I noticed my daughter kept asking me about my gay friends in New York. I'm like, Marky, in New York, every third person's gay, okay? Like, it's not a big deal. You know, I mean, they're normal people, all right? Some of my best friends are gay. And she wanted to know about this and all this. I had no idea that she was really reiterating this back to Matthias about trying to make him feel comfortable that, you know, what you are is what you are. You know, I had no idea. I have never had more than 30 minutes of conversation with this boy, Matthias, in my entire life. Okay, so this was all coming through my daughter. But the bottom line is, through my daughter's friendship with him, he had the guts to come out in October of 2025 as gay and announce his first boyfriend, which was a guy from the next town over, and the parents from Guatemala, I like to just say it that way, freaked out. Okay, you talk about the level of shame. They went to the school with police squad cars, blaming the school for coercing him to believe he's gay. They went to the boyfriend's house, tried putting statutory rape charges on this boy. Doesn't work that way. All right, he's a senior and the son was a junior. All right, statutory rape doesn't work that way. They sent him to a mental institution, these freaks of nature, right? Yeah. In 2026. And most importantly, the father pulled a gun on him. All right. Yeah. Georgie, in her statement to DFS, because in October, all right, I get a call. I'm in the city. He thinks I'm in New York. And out of the blue, I think it's October 15th, I get a call from the father who's calling from his wife's phone because he's such a brave soul.
Manly man.
Manly man. I'm going to call and threaten a guy, but not from my own phone. I'm going to do it from my wife's phone. By the way, he's a closet fag. Okay. There's no way you can't even tell me. Okay. That guy is closet homosexual. No question about it. I'll bet $1 million on it right now. Closet case. And I've got a lot of gay friends that they hate those people more than anyone. All right. They hate them more than actually bigots. Okay. So, and I don't say hate, but dislike. So bottom line, I get this call in October and I've got CNBC going, I'm trading. He's like, and I only met the guy one time. We had a pizza party. I was invited over in July to swim in their pool and, hung out with their family. It started raining. We hung out inside, had a little bit of coffee. I went back. My daughter stayed there, blah, blah, blah. That was it. That's all we knew. That was the only time I've ever spent any time with them whatsoever. As soon as a kid comes out as gay, he's noticed, and Georgie actually in her statement said that she saw bruises all over his arms. They noticed them at the school, and the kid went to the school, and he said his father pulled a gun and made it a point to say that it's an unregistered gun on him, basically saying, if you're gay, this is what you got in your future. And I remember in October, I sat there, I said, Marky, I said, you know what I do for a living? I said, my charity? I said, I've got to do. Dad, please don't. The school knows, all right? DFS knows, everybody knows. Let the other agencies do it. And I should have known then, Rich, that they would all fail this kid. I should have known, all right, but I didn't. But what I did do is when he called me up and he said, this is not a friendly call. The DFS and the police are on their way over to your house right now. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about, guy? What are you talking about? And he starts threatening more. He starts threatening more and more and saying, give us our son back. I was like, are we on some like off-Broadway shitty like play or something? Give us our son back. What do you think? We've got him duct taped in the basement, you freaking moron. So I'm having this kind of conversation with him. And then finally we're screaming at each other and we just hang up and I find out the police did show up. Georgie was there, my still technical wife, and the police show up and then they say, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? She goes, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So the police come in. Said, can we come in? Yeah, come in. Look around. No kids are here. So Georgie has this app, Life 360, to always know where the kids are. She goes, look, right here. They're at the library, right? So 3 New Canaan police cars surround my daughter's car like she is an international terrorist. Like a 5-foot, 100-pound, half-Asian woman girl, 16-year-old, can actually hold a 17-year-old boy against his will. So mom and dad are calling him. He's not answering the phone and he refuses to come home. What does Zuelia have to do is blame everybody on the planet but her son. No. It's not that my son will not answer his phone and won't come home. It's the Weigels have hijacked my son. Because they have a payoff scam with John D. Federico. Captain John D. Federico is a policeman for hire, okay? There's the only way you can explain it. It's the only way you can explain it. Okay, when they showed up at the high school, they showed up at the high school with cop cars. When they showed up at the kid's house, they showed up at the kid's house with cop cars. All right, everywhere they go, when they came to my house, cop cars. All right, they're parked on my property. They know they're not allowed to be on my property, that we're adversaries, right? And the police show up. What do? They interview Zuelia and Carlos for 20 minutes before they come in and ask me what happened. When there's a clear breaking and entering, right? Clear breaking and entering. There's the wreath. It was around Christmas time. Is on the floor. There's needles all over the inside of the home, Rich. The inside of the home, right? And you know what? And the first thing they said is, and Rich, one thing is, we need to be demanding the 2 body cams that they're refusing to provide. Because when you see these body cams, you do not start off with, okay, everybody, we've looked at it and here's the result. That's not the beginning of an investigation. When you show up at an altercation, the initial conversation is not, here's what the boss decided. The initial conversation is what happened.
Yeah, what's going on? That's the first thing what's going on here? Every
What's going
time you
on?
watch cops, every time you see live PD, every time you see a police interaction, hey, what's going on? That's the first question that they're trained to ask at the academy. An open-ended question to try to get somebody to volunteer information.
And you know what I have to also put on record here? I really feel bad for the good cops in New Canaan, because they're all a hell of a lot of good cops in there. They were embarrassed, right? They came right out and they said, this is what, direct quote from the audio, this is what my superior wants to do. Mm-hmm. Not what the law is, not what the evidence said. This is what my superior wants to do. You want to add something to the screen, Rich?
Yeah, it's going to show. This is another thing. I'm going to just keep talking. I'm showing a lot of the pictures of the people involved, how DCF was involved. There's a whole DCF angle you didn't even talk about yet, which is crazy. Yeah. I'm just going to keep showing this stuff, but keep talking so people can see some of the.
Well, so the story is this. Okay, I get this ridiculous call. He doesn't know I'm in Manhattan, and says the police are on their way over. The cops surround my daughter's car like she's Jack the Ripper, and they go into the library and find out the kid is there, and he just doesn't want to go home. Now, what had made us the enemy here is, as soon as he went into school showing these signs and he told 30 friends that his father pulled a gun on him, then it went to administration. Administration called DFS. DFS came in and pulled a pussy move and didn't do a mandatory withdrawal. It was kind of like a half withdrawal, and said, listen, we need to take you out of the house today. Where do you want to be? All right. He didn't say his grandmother's in Stamford, the next town over. He didn't say his aunt's house, which is 2 towns over. He said the Weigel household. I feel the most safe at the Weigel household. That is our crime. That is the entire reason why this insane, sick, just new money, disgusting new money, thinks that they could just buy everything, right? Just believes, right? That was because it can't be their son's fault. He can't be gay because that's so shameful. And then, Rich, we talked about this a lot when we first started covering this, right? This was a recipe of what makes teens who come out as gay commit suicide.
That's right.
Look what they did. They went to the high school and made it a high school event. They sent him to a mental institution, to church every day. I didn't tell you about church every day. Right. All right. And then on their own website, we pointed out that when there's, even one adult that stands up for a teen coming out as gay, the chances of suicide drop by 50-fold or something like that. So you know what? After the 3rd time of being attacked by this family, they said the Warrior Project is not, the New Canaan police failed. The family failed. The mother failed them. The father failed them. DFS failed them. All right. The school failed to protect this child. All right. Now, he doesn't get along with anybody. All right. He's ousted. All right. Out of the whole 30, group of 30 friends are all there. He's out. Okay. He's completely ostracized because I don't think that that's right because he's brainwashed. What's he going to do? He's living in this house with this mother and father with a gun. Okay. But what happened and what made me enemy number one to the New Canaan police is they know the record is I sent it as a text message. On October 15th, I sent, and that's what's in that piece that you just pulled up. I showed the piece of the text message where I called him an ass monkey from the jungle, and you should go back to the jungle, not being racist, but being indicative of the fact that it's primate attitude. All right, to sit there and think that being gay is so shameful that you have to pray it away in 2026. Besides the level of unintelligence, the level of immorality, all right? And then this is their own child. This is their own child that they're teaching you're so shameful. You're so shameful. So we just said we're not, but what made me enemy number one of New Canaan police is that I ended that text message by saying we're gonna put it here, all right? Because we're gonna make sure that there's always evidence supporting what we're saying. I said, and you better get that gun registered because in the state of Connecticut, that is a felony, buddy. Right. And that was October 15th. So they knew from October 15th all the way up until January 15th that I started now reporting that where was this investigation of the gun? 30 kids at the school administration knows about it, DFS knows about it. Where's the investigation of the gun? Oh, another paper bag to John DeFederico. Another paper bag to John DeFederico. You better hope that they never, ever, ever let a guy like me do a financial dissection of the money, of the payoffs, because it is going to be so obvious. Oh my God, the cash withdrawals, the timing of the cash withdrawals. These morons probably did it through PayPal, right? Or Venmo.
So, Dave, I want to show something to everyone. I'm going to set up the clips we're going to show because we just obtained the body cam footage this week, and I want to bring back up an old article that I did that has in it a sworn affidavit submitted to the court by Carlos Alvarez. Carlos Alvarez is Zoali Alvarez's husband and is the father of Matthias, the boy who came out as gay and then was basically had the gun held to his head. And we're going to read.
Again, we don't know if it was held to his head. Okay.
But there was a gun that was involved.
There was a gun pulled on him. We don't know that it was held to his head. I want to make sure that's been previously reported. And I double checked with Mark, my daughter, and she corrected. She said, we don't know that. We don't know that. We know it was pulled on him. We don't know we don't know that it was put to his head. Okay. Just want to make sure.
I'm going to show everybody what was said. Let's set this as a baseline. These are what are called sworn documents in court. If you lie in court up on the stand with your hand, when you hold your hand up high and on the Bible, and then you lie, well, that's called perjury. That is something that you can go to jail for. If you do the same thing when you do
when you have a $7 million house and a $250,000 Range Rover, bro.
Yeah. So, and then when you do the same thing in a sworn document, that is also a big, big problem. So I'm going to show everybody. This was in an earlier article, and it's there for everybody to see. This was the judge that you had, Dave, and this Judge Kavanowski was one of the worst judges that ever could be. And he had a kangaroo court type hearing. And we can get into that, but this kangaroo court hearing is actually, for me, and this is my opinion, and me and Volpe have a difference of opinion here, or I don't know if what his full opinion is on this is, but this hearing is the most important piece of evidence related to the body cam footage because it provides what's called a verified statement of the facts. And that verified statement for the facts is right here for everybody to see. And you can go to my luthman.substack.com and look up. You can type in Weigel or type in Alvarez or and you can find this case, or Kavanowski. And he made an application for a civil protection order. See this Carlos Alvarez versus David Weigel? And they put this in, okay? And, and it was signed by this judge, Robert Gennaro, on January 22nd. So the events that happened were on January 15th, and within a week's time, they had gotten themselves into with this judge to sign a ex parte, and it was in family court knows what ex parte means. That's when somebody runs in and without you there and says all sorts of nasty shit about you and you can't defend yourself. Well, they went in for an ex parte immediate relief type situation with these lawyers. Okay. And we can talk about them. The person who signed it, the marshal, is a relative of the people. This was an inside job, the Connecticut mafia functioning well. But the most important piece of paper.
It's the same last name as his wife's maiden name. They skipped over how many? 10, 12 people that have this job in Stamford to go get this what exactly was it when I was in Kentucky? It was a restraining order
this is a protective order, a restraining order. Yes, this is what they went to get. Now I'm going to read this to you because this is the husband. This is not the wife, right? The wife made claims. This is the husband's claims. Okay, I'm going to read this to everybody to see, and then we'll go to the video. Okay, and we'll see what's that. Statement of condition from which you seek relief. Carlos Alvarez is seeking relief against David Weigel. I, the person signing below, say under oath that I am the applicant for this civil protection order and state that I have been the victim of sexual abuse, sexual assault, or stalking, defined as two or more willful acts performed in predatory, disturbing manner of harassing, following, lying, waiting in wait, surveilling, monitoring, sending unwanted gifts or messages to another person directly, indirectly, or through a third person by any method, device, or means that cause the person reasonably fear for his or her physical safety. So that is what Carlos Alvarez says that David Weigel did to him, the big man that builds houses in New Canaan, Connecticut. Now, here's the best part about this. Okay. And they've talked about the October 22nd incident, and that's there. But the big one is the second paragraph, the January 15th paragraph. On January 15th, 2026, while at David's house with my wife and son, David physically assaulted my wife, slapped her in her face, pushed her, grabbed and choked her, threw her to the ground, and kicked her in the ribs, side, and legs. I called the police. David was arrested, and I left. After the incident, David contacted my wife and I on my wife's phone, again calling us low-class jungle-ass monkeys, that he was putting out an all-points bulletin to my 8 million viewers. And these are inappropriate messages. The question is, when your son started sucking cock, was it your cock, Pablo, or was it your wife who got the bigger cock? Later that day, David contacted my wife and I on my wife's phone with these inappropriate messages. Hey, Pablo and your cleaning lady wife, are you ready to go down on permanent public record? 8.5 million people are turning in faggot. I'm going out you to the world. Better hope that 200K dumbass truck can save you now. Your mom is going to see this. I'm giving you a personal invite. You sent your wife to my door instead of you. No wonder your boy chooses to suck dick, which is, by the way, he's an amazing boy. You think your money buys you power? You're jungle monkeys. Just wait till you see what's going on. Permanent public record. You're in faggot, Connecticut. I have the FBI sending you back. Later that night, he went live on his YouTube channel for more than 30 minutes, stating the names of me, my wife, son, and giving our home address. David assaulted my wife. His continued contacts unwanted, willful, disturbing, and threatening. I'm scared to death that he will attack me or his family again. And my family, I live in fear every day. Wait for the criminal case against him to proceed, but there's not been a court date yet. What? I'm waiting for the criminal case against him to proceed, but there's not been a court date yet. That's on 1/21/26. I'm also scared he will continue to post our pictures and information on his YouTube channel, other social media, and cause others to do harm to me or my family. Now, wait, listen to me. This guy is a builder from Guatemala. He may be very, very skilled in the building trades. Do you think that this guy wrote these paragraphs? No. Absolutely. Fucking way. He had the lawyer write these paragraphs. So you know right away the statements in there are automatically suspect.
Wait, hold on. Wait a second. I'm 145 pounds. I may bark like a chihuahua, but I'm 140. He's a builder. He builds with his hands. This is a big, strong guy, isn't this? He's scared for his life of me.
So you notice that he said that you said all these things to him. Look at the paragraphs. You said all these bad things to him, and then he said, and then you went on live on a YouTube channel that has a record, and he can say anything about what you said on that YouTube channel. He just said you did things. That's a typical lawyer trick. You say all these things because it's he said, she said. He went in front of this judge. He bloodied you up. He dirtied you up. He made you look like this terribly deranged person. But it's all he said, she said, because there's no recording of the conversations that you allegedly had with him. You know, the language that was used, the stuff that where there is a recording, he obviously doesn't quote, right? Because that would favor you. But the biggest thing is on that 15th, he says that his wife, right, that his wife was assaulted. We have pictures. We'll hopefully show the bruises. Right. There's and he's there.
Girls, can you bring up can you find the pictures and the bruises? I think it's in the Sammartino file. All right.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure that we actually show the bruises that they submitted. They tried to submit in court, and they've submitted online saying that she suffered that day from me, which I think you need to spend about a day in medical school to realize that a bruise that is 10 minutes old does not look like a bruise that's 3 days old, right?
And we'll get to that, but there's big things here, Dave. David was arrested, and I left. We're going to watch the video now. I'm going to see, was it David was arrested, and I left? That's what they're claiming happened. Now we have the camera footage, right? This document was in the court. This was presented to Kazanowski. This is one of the things that form the basis for this protective order. She put one in too. You know, but this, we'll just sit here because I don't want to bore everybody with the road facts. Let's start talking now about these video cameras footage that we have, the body cam. And you have some experience, Dave, with these webcams. You know how the body.
I own the exact same one. I own the exact same one. In fact, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to show you guys.
Yeah.
But why don't you pull up? Let's look at the first video. Can we pull up what they're claiming is the very, very first video, ladies?
Do you want me to put it? I can put it up if you want. Let's see.
Okay.
We're talking this one. You want up, Dave? Let's see if we can get it on.
Let me see. Add the scene. Yep, this is what they're claiming. The initial video. I'm on the phone with the property manager. Yeah, there is. There's a police right here right now. I got to call you right back because they're with me right now. Okay. I'll call you right back.
If we can go back to the kitchen living room area.
Doesn't that area look like a place where there was a brawl?
If you can put the cup down too. Thank you. So we're doing a misdemeanor summons for both of you. All right. We're getting very conflicting stories on each end.
Yeah, Dave, this is the first video we got, and they've already alluded to the fact we've got conflicting stories on both sides. So we have a whole bunch of them talking to both parties with their body cams.
Where's the body cam?
Yeah, that's right. We don't have the full body cam footage. I want everybody to understand that. That's a body cam, and Dave knows how to use them, and that should have been on the whole
footage. They hold the right side. Boom, turns on. Okay. Notice you have got flashing red lights. I know how they work. The body cam is now on and running. It exists. And they're not giving it over in violation of FOIA because they know it's going to crush their case.
All right, let's play some more.
Both are kind of credible with the statements at this point. All right.
You're arresting me?
No. This is saying that you're both going to go
Hold
to court.
on, Fritz. Pause that, please. Pause that, please. Pause that. Okay. So Mike Volpe, okay, fouled the earth to find the real heart of the story here. And Dave Weigel lied about being arrested. What's the first thing that happened is me saying, am I being arrested? And what do the cops say, Rich?
No, you're not being arrested.
No,
I said no.
you're not being arrested. That's the first one. Keep going.
And go through that process. All right. Because we don't really have much evidence as to who's actually telling the
How about
truth.
common fucking sense of somebody coming into my home?
Right. And that's going to be your defense, right?
Why isn't it your assessment of this? All right, this is fucking bullshit. Okay, this is bullshit.
Sir.
Get the fuck out of my house. Get out.
Listen, this is the route we're taking. All right. You either do this or you will be arrested today. All right. There's no
Please stop it.
more
Please stop
argument
it
at this
right there.
point.
Please stop it
This is
right
what my
there.
supervisors want to do.
Oh, this is
stop
what
right
my
there.
supervisors want to do. You
This
heard
woman.
that?
Okay, so two things that happened right there, Mike Volpe. Take notes, Mr. Volpe. Take notes. Second time, he says, if you keep acting this way, you will be arrested. All right. I turn around quietly. I sit down. And what does the officer say, Rich Luthman?
Yeah, he says basically the supervisors. He started talking about his supervisors.
This is what my supervisors want to do. Exact words, want to do.
And who's
Not
his
what the
supervisor,
evidence said.
David? David, who's his supervisor? Who's the
I
head
think
of the
that's
police?
Captain John D. Federico.
And have you had a run-in with that guy before this date?
I think I have. I think.
And what
he
happened?
was-
What was the result of that with for you when you had a run-in before that? Where'd you end up?
Well, I ended up in Rikers Island because the paper bag of money that now, mind you, me and Georgie are friends now. So I have all the emails and texts of how they set up. What they did was they put complaints both in New York and Connecticut after paying off that John D. Federico, right? To put in the system that there's a felony level arrest warrant out for Dave Weigel. Why? Because when I was in Indiana, I got into a text message fight with my ex's boyfriend, who wound up being a narcissist. This guy spent $500,000 of his own money on someone else's divorce when he had no desire to marry Georgie or be a father to my children. I had called him up in tears and said, be a man, be a father to my children. If you're not letting me be a father to my children, someone be a father to my children. He started, at this point, he was flying private, and it's so great. Saurav Chatterjee went broke. Saurav Chatterjee broke. He lives over a pizza place in Greenwich just so he can go out to bars right now and say, I got to get back to Greenwich. Meanwhile, he's got like an $800 rental above a pizza place or something like that. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. He left my family after alienating me for 5 years, and tell me he didn't have a side deal with the attorney. Who spends $500,000 on someone else?
And we could go down that rabbit hole all day, but let's stick with this video. We're gonna play some more on this.
Let's do it. I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, your supervisors, yeah.
All right. Based on the statements you made, based on the statements they made.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, very, very honorable.
can't even speak. Can't even speak.
Officers that you have there at the.
All right.
Okay, let's do it.
I will need your social security.
So they blotted out your social, and they blotted out some of the personally identifiable information, which under the FOIA law in Connecticut, they're
It's basically
obligated to
saying
do.
you're being charged with said charges, all right, and you have to appear to court at this date and time.
Okay, and
They're getting one too.
they're getting one too.
They're getting one too. All right, so it's not just you. We're not just punishing you.
The same time.
The same time.
It's the same case.
Yes, it's the same case.
No, it was a lie.
It's
These are
me
two separate
versus them.
It's you versus them.
Okay.
Them.
It's not. That's actually not true. They're two separate cases. And you got bad information from this cop probably 3 or 4 times already. So we keep going.
Versus you.
Okay.
All right. You're gonna go in front of a judge. You're gonna have a hearing, right? You're gonna tell your side of the story. They're gonna tell their side of the story. They're gonna take our reports, your statements made.
I'm a victim, and I want to go on record right now that this is complete horseshit.
I understand. I understand your
All right?
frustration.
I am a law-abiding citizen here in this state. In this, okay, these people, crazy people, known to the state, known to the city, okay, it came to my home and broke an entry into my
We
home.
understand that that's the statements
Broke
you
into
made.
my home.
Yeah.
And their claim is that I assaulted them as they broke into my home, and this is the police work we're doing. This is the top dog police work we're doing right now.
And it's not their fault. Dean Federico made him do it.
Well, the fact is we don't know what happened, Dave, because we don't have all the body cam footage. That's the thing. We got, and we'll show everybody. We've got 3 little snippets. We're gonna play it. Play some more.
No, but we know they said this is coming from
Oh,
our super.
it came from the top. We know that. We know that it came from, but we don't know what they said prior. We don't have your statement that these people fucking just came into my house and did this. We don't have their statement saying, we don't know exactly what they said because we don't have it.
Who's the top dog in the FOIA area in Connecticut that's involved now, Rich?
We have an attorney that actually he's a good attorney with the FOIA unit. And he's actually gone against the attorney general and he's made stuff get out there, but he actually New Canaan didn't want to give up anything, and he came in and he told New Canaan, you've misread the statute, and he's been negotiating with Volpe to try to have him withdraw the request.
I don't know if Volpe is going to be following up too harsh now.
Well, we'll see. I think that he has a reason to, and we'll get to it. Because listen, I think he has got some good point. When we go through it, and with all fair and balanced, we're going to get the other side. We're going to put his article up too in a little bit after we've looked at this, and we'll be able to talk about it because he's not here. He's got to be represented, and I think he did a decent job of reporting. I think some of the stuff that he said in that article we can talk about.
Invited multiple times to be here. He has chosen to not be here because he's got his child. Because
Mike. I mean,
you can't do 2 things at once.
Let's not get a
guy
to
have
say,
a child and do a podcast at the same time.
Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the evidence and we'll get to that at the end.
I know you will.
Height.
So this is all the redacted stuff. They have to do that under the FOIA law.
My height is 6'4", by the way. Everyone.
I do need your signature right here.
So you're signing something. You've already said you don't know what the hell you were signing, right? And he's already told you before you didn't know you were getting arrested.
I'm a fiduciary money man. Okay, this affects me. This is an arrest.
It's a promise to appear. So technically, it's an arrest, yes, sir. But there's no mugshot photo. There's no fingerprints. It's a promise to appear bond. Yeah, basically. All right. So this is the easiest way to go.
Please stop that. Please stop that.
So, am I being arrested? No. About a minute and a half ago. Am I being arrested? Yes. This is in lieu of an arrest. Technically, you are being arrested. So that these guys don't even know which end is up.
But Mike Volpe said Dave Weigel lied. He's been saying for months that he was never arrested when he was, and he signed a promise to appear notice, and he lied. He lied. Did it have anything to do with readership? Let me ask you something, Rich. As a journalist, is there more readership in maybe saying that the guy who set up the Truth and Transparency machine that might be one of the most respected human rights defenders in the world lied? Is there a vested interest in
I don't listen.
To write that article?
You know where you're going. Let's look at.
This is logic, Rich. This is logic. He's a for-profit entity. He charges. Okay.
Let's look at the private. Let's look at the evidence, and then we'll talk about the argument at the end.
Okay.
Let's go through this. Okay. Let's look at the evidence.
And this is your court date. All right. You're gonna receive a copy of this as well.
Well, I'm most likely suing you guys.
Okay. You want to sue? Okay, that's fine.
Because
so
this is very poor police work.
Okay.
This is very
Right about
this
that.
is very poor police work. Okay.
Now, hold on, Rich. Can you stop it right there?
Dogs.
Can you stop it right there? The second charge is disorderly persons. I'm sitting there in my seat saying this is poor police work. Is that disorderly persons, Rich? In my home?
That you're expressing your opinion, and you're doing it in a civil way, and you have every right to do so under the First and 14th Amendments of the Constitution.
So in your legal expertise,
I'm not claiming expertise, but as a journalist,
that's being disorderly persons.
I don't see anything. Listen, I don't see anything disorderly in this, and I don't see any claims that you're disorderly from from another party, from Carlos Alvarez or Zoali Alvarez, because we don't have the body cam footage. I'm
then
drilling
how
down
was it
on
charged?
I'm
How
drilling
was
down
it
on the
charged?
evidence here, Dave. Let's finish this video up. Let's put the second one up. Let's drill down on this evidence.
Okay, working.
I hear you. Promise
Okay.
we're good. Thank you.
People
Here's
came
your copy right there.
into my home.
Watch the area. Look at the area. Look how it's swept up. The wreath is back on the door.
Made a difference, huh?
Now look, there's a bunch of cars in front. There's not one car. There's like four, right? It's like a train of cars. Now notice that part. That's the part that we had with you. Now we'll do another one now, which is the second video.
But hold on, before you go there, Rich. Before they go there,
Okay.
Rich, I want to call to attention how much attention was paid to the fraud of making it look like this is the initial body cam footage. You see the police officer walking up these stairs, walking in, and me saying, "Yes, the police are here right now." To a casual onlooker, that looks like this is the first. This is the initial point of where they're actually showing up, until he opens his mouth and says, "This is what we've decided," clearly indicating this is not the first or even the second body cam footage. Where's the body cam footage of asking
right.
me what happened? Where's the
Let's
body
move-
cam footage?
Move to the next one, Dave. Hit the next body cam. We have the second one is queued up.
Ladies.
see it? Let me see.
And by the
Local-
way, Kristen and Amy, my God, thank God for them. I mean, they're
Here we
about
go.
ready to have a nervous
So this
breakdown.
is the portion. This is only about 1:20 long. Remember when you had that second cop that came in that said, Dave, am I under arrest? Well, yes, this is in lieu of an arrest. You're not getting handcuffed and you're not getting fingerprinted in a mugshot, but this is in lieu of an arrest. The one that's there writing this right now said, no, you're not under arrest. This
That's
guy's
right.
the one who comes in. This is from his perspective. So let's watch this. We just saw
In,
it. So let's watch
in another room, Mike Volpe. In another
let's watch
room.
this. Let's watch this now. This is him. He's looking back. It looks like this guy's the senior guy that's from this video. That guy's the junior guy writing it up.
That might be Prado. I don't know.
I'm a fiduciary money manager. Okay, this affects me. This is an arrest.
It's a promise to appear. So technically, it's an arrest, yes, sir. But there's no mugshot photo. There's no fingerprints. It's a promise to appear bond. Yeah, basically. All right.
So as far as you're concerned, he tells you it's an arrest. It's a promise to appear bond, right?
Right.
The other guy told you it's not an arrest. You're not being arrested. You wanted him out. He said, well, if we do leave, you're going to be arrested. But now technically they're saying you were arrested, but you were not
Rich,
arrested.
Mike
At the
Volpe
same time,
reported
wait,
Dave
we're going to go to
Weigel
Volpe. We're going to go to Volpe in a second, Dave. Relax.
But he reported Dave Weigel lied.
Okay, I'm going to let this go. Here we go.
So this is the easiest way to go about the situation.
So these are the charges you're being charged with, and this is your court date. All right, you're gonna receive a copy of this as well.
Well, I'm most likely suing you guys.
Okay. Do you want to shoot? Okay, that's fine. Yep. So
Because
everything's
this
in the
is-
case file.
This is very poor police work.
Okay. You're
This
noted.
is very,
Everything's recorded.
this is very poor police work.
Okay.
Okay.
Noted.
I'm a man sitting here with my dogs. Okay, working.
I hear you. Carlos,
Okay.
we're good. Thank you.
People came into my home.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. There was a brawl there. Look at that. Look at where the brawl is. I threw it off the balcony, Rich.
All right, so that's what we got with that one. Then we have the third video, which we'll show everybody, which is the third one that they gave up. And that video was the video of the Alvarezes. Now, these are the Alvarezes, and remember what we just read a few seconds ago. And yeah, this is what we just read, that they were that she was assaulted by you.
I punched her in the neck. I strangled her, and she provided. Ladies, I could try finding it myself.
There's their Range Rover in the front of the place.
$250,000, people. It makes a difference, baby. $250,000 car.
Now look at her. Look at her face now.
Here's
Look at her demeanor.
When you get your emotions involved with your child, You don't
Watch
know.
how this female cop
Yeah, I
pisses.
know. Did you explain this to her?
I think you have the gist of what's going on.
Okay. Do you know your social security number? Yeah. What is it?
She doesn't look like somebody who's too flustered, that was beaten, that was assaulted. She's sitting there talking, almost smiling, right? Look at her.
Look at her
For
eyes.
the-
Look at her eyes. She's not even crying.
He's not crying, and her husband is not being in a protective stance either. You would think that somebody who got his wife quote
He was
unquote
going to press
assaulted.
charges, just got off the property. You press charges? It's like he said, you guys are both pressing charges against each other. So essentially, this is just, it's really conduct. Like he explained, you came on his property, he does have the right, even if that does mean getting physical, he's allowed to, you did as well. So, all right. Essentially, on the 27th of this month at 9 a.m., you're going to go to Stanford Court.
Go down there.
Okay. Just explain it, everything that
I'm going
happens.
to fall down there and give my
And, for, like, also stay off the property, like he said originally. You're going to stay off the property. I don't know if, and stay.
Yeah, she's laughing. Dana says it right there. She's laughing, this dumb chick. She's not somebody that looks like she was just.
Where's her marks on her neck? Where's the marks on her face?
The marks are anywhere. And
I
what's her
punched
husband?
and
What's her
kicked her.
husband doing? That if my wife was getting beaten, I would be bloody murder. You wouldn't be able to keep me out of that house from beating the shit out of the guy that did that. And all the guy said in that report that he submitted to the court, I called the police.
Yeah, watch what he said. Yeah. I'm driving. Oh, really?
But,
Big tough
I know
guy.
you like tracking him and stuff, and if you see it happening and you see it in the car, you have all that info. You don't have to, do it right away when it's in the moment. Yeah. Take the breath. All right. Okay. Does that make sense? So from you, I just need you to sign right here, okay, hon?
Let me drive. Get down.
Let me drive. Get out.
Let me drive. I'm a tough guy. Let me drive. Look at me. I'm the driver now.
All right, so Wally, this is just going to be your copy, and it says the instructions and everything are on the back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Yeah, thank you.
So that is extremely important, Dave, for the fact that it shows not only demeanor and how they're acting that doesn't jive with their sworn statements afterwards, but we don't see their statements to the police before that. We're missing body cam footage right now. We're missing a whole bunch of, and here we go. Here
we go.
Magically, after she a week later had gone to the attorney and then went to the ex parte judge, with everybody in family court knows ex parte, they magically had bruises, right, on Zoali's legs that they submitted it as evidence, right? They submitted this as evidence. Magically, she has bruises. You would think that if this were a big issue that she had told, and I'm speculating now because we don't have the body cam footage. There's body cam footage of the early interaction, the first interview that those officers had with Zoali. You would think that if she was bruised, immediately they would call for medical attention. That was the first thing a cop would do, get an ambulance there and have the medical personnel evaluate the level of the injury. There was no injury at that point. We don't know if these were bruises that were from somebody else. We don't know if Carlos went home that night and got pissed at her for getting the cops involved. We don't know what happened. We have no idea.
Photos provided by Jason Samaritano, the career criminal troll that has attacked me on like 489 of the last 512 days. I just put out a message to him that I will agree to let him touch my butt one time if he just gives me a week, just 1 week of stop obsessing about me.
Yeah.
So with injuries like this, Rich, right? Wouldn't there be some kind of scene, something knocked over? Did you know that the coat rack was not even knocked over? All right. There was just nothing. There was just no signs whatsoever of
I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a lot of things you guys are not pointing out that are really
Go for it. Go for it.
The police said right in the police report what they observed when they arrived on the scene. They said that They seen the needles spread all over the ground. The wreath was on the ground. Inside, there was needles inside and outside on the porch. If you read her statement and read Dave's statement's the only one that describes how that could have happened to that wreath. Her statement is basically Dave opened the door and just started beating the shit out of her. That's what she says. Okay, well, if that's the case, how did that wreath get knocked off? If he come outside and came at you?
Because Kristen, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You don't know this. I'm one of the world's most prolific human rights defender, and also, I believe wholeheartedly in underage drinking to the level of becoming a criminal at 54 years old. I've hidden it inside my soul for so long. But if somebody says that you can't drink under 21, I'm losing my mind. We're gonna battle. What do you mean? A 17-year-old can't drink? Oh,
when they came in and said, when the cops came in and said you guys had very conflicting stories. That is true.
Well,
they are very
don't have those stories.
She says you come outside at her.
Yeah, Kristen, we don't have those stories, right? Wouldn't you want to see those stories?
I know. Well, not their statements. It's what they said in the police report. But
the police report is a third-party report. I would rather have the best evidence. Aren't the best evidence those?
I know. And now you guys get the body cam footage. It's not all the body cam footage. And where is it where you guys are telling what happened? Where is that at? Where you guys are talking to the police when they first get there, they always ask you what happened. Where's that part? Where's your guys' actual statements? How come that's not part of the police report? The actual statements.
Because
the only thing in the police report is what you guys what they said you guys
because it's
said.
Organized crime, and it was organized to cut the head off the warrior.
They don't want you guys to see her statement because they know they don't want anybody to see her statement or know what she said happened, because they know damn well they're full of shit when they say that there's no evidence to prove which side is true. Yes, there is. They put it right in the police report. What evidence they've seen, what they observed when they got there. They're full of shit, and they're doing this because of Dave being who Dave is.
That's why you see
DeFederico has a problem.
And that's why you see here, John DeFederico. Why don't you look at this, sir? Okay, this is the Inter-American Criminal Courts, where you are named personally. No immunity, no statute.
It's like
he
put you in Rikers Island.
A criminal court by the Inter-Americans as well as the United Nations Convention Against Torture, because retaliating against a human rights defender is a crime you're going to go to prison for, fat boy.
He put you in Rikers Island and then got butthurt.
And here's a good point from Amy. In court, she said Dave kicked her in the neck. I want to see this ninja roundhouse kick.
Hold on, wait, hold on.
Right?
Wait, I got it. Wait.
Right?
Hold on, buddy.
It's a little nuts. No, but there's so many holes here that's the issue. Now I'm going to put up the Mike Volpe article, which I'm going to tell you what.
Mike Volpe hack job.
No, I think that the article's a decent article. I know there's parts you don't like, but I want to show you.
He's a whore. He's a whore.
No,
he saw there's more readership in saying that
no,
the
he's
guy
not.
who created the Truth and Transparency machine, I caught lying. There's more readership in that. He's a whore.
So here we go. So this is the article that was put out and with some of the body cam footage by Mike Volpe yesterday actually. And so Dave Weigel was served according to body cam despite claims otherwise. New Canaan police released the body cam confirmed Dave Weigel was served a summons for misdemeanor charges. Okay, so that's the point there.
Of all the things going on there, Rich, the first thing he chooses to report of everything going on about the case, the claims, what he knows about the court case on February 2nd, what he knows about the kangaroo court, okay, what he knows about the 15 people that gave testimony publicly, of everything going on, he chose to write his article, which I paid him $2,500, which is the beautiful thing.
Listen, Dave, you paid a journalist to do the work to news gather. You didn't pay
That
for
is
a result, and I don't want you to complain about the result because
exactly.
we're going to
I'm
go
not
through this
complaining.
article, and I'm going to show you that he did good work
And
in
I'm saying this is a beautiful thing.
facts.
This is a
Okay?
beautiful thing because it answers definitively. You cannot pay a journalist for an outcome.
That's
You
true.
pay you pay
And that
a
you can
journalist
that's
for
right.
research.
Michael Volpe is an ethical journalist. I know him to be a very ethical
pay
journalist, and he's
you
telling us the
pay
way that
a
he sees it.
journalist for their time,
But let
their
me
research.
let me say, and I cross-posted this, so I had my little take on. I'll tell my take from the beginning. Then we'll go through Volpe. I said Mike Volpe's Weigel body cam report opens the next layer of the new Canaan story. The footage confirms Weigel was handed what looks like a criminal summons, but it also raises bigger questions about Zoali Alvarez's claimed bruises, her later sworn testimony, missing body cam segments, and who drove the charging decision. A visible contradiction between body cam condition and courtroom testimony is perjury in my book. If the officer says the order came from the top, then this was not ordinary street level police discretion. That is a politically motivated prosecution, and Weigel has been right all along. Okay?
Thank you for pointing out the more important parts of this. Can you continue to get into what Mike decides is now the other
Now,
most
let's
important
talk
piece?
about this. Let's talk what he's done. This is how he takes it. And we'll stop and we'll dissect it, okay, little by little. Months after my open records request was first made, the New Canaan, Connecticut Police Department released the body cam footage from the day they investigated an alleged assault at Dave Weigel's home. That's all true, right? We just got the body cam footage finally, or at least some of it. We didn't get all of it. We didn't get anywhere near all of it because, well, from what we have nothing. For months, Weigel told me and others that he was never arrested or provided a summons after a confrontation at his home on January 15, 2026. So, Dave, from that video, right, the facts are you said that you were never arrested or provided a summons. You didn't believe that you were arrested, and you didn't believe that you were provided a summons. Well, I think you have every right to believe that you weren't arrested because you got told that you weren't arrested by a police officer, right? Is this an arrest? Yep. No, you're not being arrested. Okay. Next, they handed you that piece of paper, right?
Right.
You didn't know what that piece of paper was, did you?
No, I'm going to tell you right now. All right. I was so messed up in my head right there. The second they left, all I did was run around, grab my stuff, and say, I've got to get the hell out of Connecticut immediately. All right. I didn't even register that they handed me that thing. Okay. Georgie put it in a drawer. The only thing I remember was that they made me sign my statement against her. I don't even remember.
Believe that you didn't believe that was a summons. You believe that was you were signing your statement.
That was I got to appear in court at some point, which I did on February 6th.
Okay. So let's go to the next part. That day, Zoali Alvarez came to Weigel's New Canaan, Connecticut home. That's true, right?
Yes.
Right.
Came
that
to
the
my home.
Wait, I'm going to go one by one. The confrontation was months in the making. Weigel previously told me because late last year, Alvarez's son came out as gay to his family. That's true, right?
Yes.
The Alvarez teenager was friends with Weigel's daughter and took refuge in the Weigel home because his parents reacted viciously to the revelation that he was gay.
Please stop. Okay. The child never took refuge in the Weigel home. DFS certified the Weigel home as acceptable to receive the child, which never happened.
So he never actually was received, but he was certified to take refuge in the Weigel home.
So he was certified by DFS.
To take refuge by DHS or DCS, DCF, whatever.
By the social worker that was working the case. I'm not 100% sure if it was DFS or who. I mean, the mother hired a private investigator to follow the kid. Okay, she's a psychopath. Okay.
So that's generally true. There's a nuance there of whether he never actually took he didn't like stay at your house and start living there and start making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of the fridge. But he was certified to be somebody that could have lived in your house as a safe place.
But what it does is the other allegations of grooming teens. All right, Mike Volpe lays the foundation that somehow this guy's been taking refuge in my home, and I've had multiple conversations with him.
Okay, so then
he's
let's let's put
he's
wait,
allowing the platform to be open to this idea that
let's
maybe
put
Dave
then let's
Weigel
put let's
is
put a
brutal.
mark. Let's put a mark next to this paragraph, and that's something we're going to look at later. Okay, fine. On January 15, 2026, Miss Alvarez did not come to Weigel's home for that. Instead, she discovered that both their children were involved in illegally purchasing alcohol. So
Stop. Okay, this is what I've got the biggest problem with. I paid this piece of shit $2,500 to do real research. He knew from day one, and I'm going to be posting here to the page the entire text string of me telling him my daughter was one of 20 children that, okay, not children, but 17-year-olds, okay, that all kicked in cash, right, for her son, Matias Alvarez, who is the only one that possesses an illegal identification, a fake identification, to go into the store. Mike started saying, well, they both did. Mike, really? So my daughter is, she's 17 and looks like she's 14. She's going to walk into a liquor store with another teen to make it look even worse.
Okay.
You dumbass.
All right, so
dumbass.
Dave, I get how you're angry. I get that you're protective of your daughter.
This is my daughter.
You're protective of your daughter, and I get it. And your emotions your emotions are justified. I'm looking at this.
Are justified.
Let me just tell you. Let me look at this for the facts. Let's look at this for the facts.
Moron,
Dave,
all right,
Dave,
decided that mentioning my daughter, and when you watch the entire text string, and I remind him and say, Mike, you need to do a retraction, okay?
Okay, we're gonna get Dave. We're gonna get to that. Let's get through the. These are the facts. I'm trying to establish facts.
Let me just say one thing.
Okay.
Mike Volpe responded saying, and again, you're gonna see it here, that giving a child cash to go buy alcohol is the same level of offense, okay, as the one that went in with the fake ID to buy the alcohol.
Well, they're involved. His claim, I think, was that they're all involved in a conspiracy, and you could take that position. It's not a.
And Mike Volpe chose not to interview the other 20 kids that also gave cash.
Okay.
He made a decision to isolate my daughter 3 times.
Let's get past that paragraph. You say you have more from a text string. We're going to get to that. She confronted Weigel verbally. That's Zoali Alvarez. Confronted Weigel verbally. He said that he threw money at her. Okay, that's, I guess, the money related to the alcohol. From there, their stories diverged.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, right there. So you're describing the whole situation. You're not talking about what the terms of the conversation are, all right, that she said that I just showed up to say, hey, listen, our kids are involved in underage drinking, and it angered me so much I just threw cash at her. And I jumped out onto the balcony and started beating her, which makes about as much sense as nothing. But Mike chose of everything to talk about at that thing, not to talk about anything other than Weigel throwing cash at her. All right. There's about 10 things to discuss there. Mike Volpe chose
we're gonna get to this.
That Dave Weigel threw cash at her.
We're going to get to this, and I'm in agreement with that. We don't have a full factual record because we don't have the body cam footage, and we don't have the statements that both sides made. You're right.
No, but I'm talking about what's real here, okay? About a journalist that doesn't really have integrity.
No, Michael has for integrity. It's just you disagree with some of this. We're going to go through every point and see where his weakest points are. And you might be right on certain points. So some of these things are true and are facts, and some of these are debatable, if in your opinion. And you can have your opinion, and that's what we're here for. So let's go to the next one.
Good.
From there, their stories diverged, with each accusing the other of assault. That's true, right? You claim that she barged into your house. She claimed without evidence that she was bruised up and down and you did ninja kicks. Okay. According to a police report, both were issued summons at the scene. And that's true. We have that not just from the police report, from the body cams that corroborate that. We have the fact that there were two summonses issued. At the time I received the police report, New Canaan Police Department refused to release the summons referenced or the body cam from that day. Weigel insisted he never received the summons. We covered that ground already. You thought it was you were signing your statement. Months later, New Canaan Police released the body cam and summons to me. So that's the summons, right? That's the Weigel summons. Okay, this you didn't believe that this was your signature because that's not your normal signature. That was a quickly scrawled signature. You said when you were under just basically stress, and you saw that you were very upset in a heightened emotional state when you were in that chair. Is that fair to say?
I was freaking the hell out. I'm a fiduciary. I'm not allowed to have a criminal conviction.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars.
And
all
as
right?
you
I'm not
see
allowed
this,
to have
as you
a
see
criminal
this
conviction.
signature here, is this the normal signature that we would see on a check that you would write or a contract that you would sign?
You know, it could be, man. Honestly,
It's
it could be.
it's scrawled, but it's not the same that you would normally if you were calm and
No,
and
it's no, that's and we could put up my signatures on all of my official documentation next to it, but I'm not going to sit there and say that that's not my signature. You saw right there. I just scribbled something, right? That could be me. That could be me.
There you go.
I couldn't register. Once I heard, Rich, heard you are being charged with third-degree assault on your intruder when in Florida I could have shot the person.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of. That's all I could think of.
Okay.
I didn't understand anything else they were saying at that point. All right. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. Let's go to the rest. Body cam in the podcast at the top, we saw that already. Shows police telling Weigel that he was being charged. He argued with them. That's all true. He asked if he was being arrested. That's all true. And a police officer told him that the summons was in lieu of an arrest. That's true, but it's incomplete. The first police officer told him he wasn't being arrested. The second police officer told him it was a summons in lieu of an arrest. So I'll mark that right there. That's true, but it's incomplete. The next one, the officer explained that he wouldn't formally be handcuffed, fingerprinted, or have a mugshot. That's what the second officer said. Notably, a cop told the decision was made above the heads of the officers on the scene. That's true. Okay, that's what the supervisor said. In his statement, Weigel said he did not lie, but he got confused. That's right. You said you were confused. This is your statement. I, David Weigel, swear under oath that I did not lie about anything. I never signed a promise to appear notice. I did not hear or understand what he was talking about. I assumed there was some sort of civil thing. I understood there would be a court date. And actually, you said it was a civil thing. And the way that the officer was describing it, it sounded like the people's court. That's where you were going to go. You would be on one side and he would be on the other. That's not a criminal case. So you have every reason, given that video, to have this understanding, right? That I understood that it would be a court date that I did show up for 30 court watchers on 2/2/26. 15 of them subsequently provided their assessment of the level of lawlessness, fraud, and collusion they witnessed in that courtroom on 2/2/26. Ms. Alvarez took out a protective order over the same incident. That court hearing was February 2nd. The protective order was, and we did that before, in front of the judge. This was January 15th. The protective order was ex parte, because everybody, we know this in family court. That's when they run in and pour poison in the judge's ears, and you don't get a chance to defend yourself. I don't care if you're a man, if you're a woman, whoever you are, whatever lawyer gets down there quicker enough and more quickly, then they can pour the poison in the ears. They did a protective order ex parte on January 22nd, and then the court hearing was February 2nd. And we read what Carlos Alvarez said. I think that's perjury on its face, some of the things he said, but I want to see the full video too. He was not detained for failing to appear for that court hearing, which he came to on February 2nd. That was not a court hearing, David, that was connected to a criminal case. That was a court hearing connected to the protective order, right? The temporary restraining order and the permanent restraining order they sought against you. The protective order may have caused confusion. The officer explained in the body cam video that Weigel was being charged criminally and pointed to the date of the hearing. Okay, that he may have pointed to something, but haven't we reported already that the dates of the hearings and the dates of everything on that courthouse got changed numerous times? So we'll put that to the side. Weigel asked the officer several questions, and at one point, the officer said, technically, it's an arrest. Yes, sir. Right? He says it's an arrest, right? The other one said, technically, it's not an arrest. No, you're not under arrest. A summons is less intrusive than an arrest. It's a distinction without a difference. Whoa, a summons is less intrusive than a formal arrest. It's a distinction without a difference. The cops told Weigel the cops did Weigel a favor by issuing a summons rather than handcuffing him, taking the police station for a mugshot and a fingerprint. Well, if they would have taken you in, Dave, for a mugshot and a fingerprint, wouldn't they have had to have taken Zoali Alvarez in too? What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
What do you think?
The
What do
other
you think?
parts of the body cam release show a different angle of the conversation with Weigel, with the cops issuing a summons to Alvarez. Weigel also argued other parts of the body cam were not released. But guess what? Rich Luthman argues that other parts of the body cam are not released from looking at this. And Mike Volpe agrees. This is definitely not all the body cam for January 15th
A
because police
third
interviewed him
grader.
and
A
Miss
third
Alvarez.
grader
Those
agrees.
weren't released. He also argued he shouldn't have been arrested given that Miss Alvarez came to his home and attempted to enter without permission. The entire body cam there is viewed Zoe Alvarez's face and neck. There are no signs of physical altercation in the least. It's true that Miss Alvarez showed no bruising when she was issued a summons. Given that each was charged, there's little chance that either will be convicted. That's his point. Given that each was charged.
No, hold on. Back up. Everything Mike's talking about is alleged, supposedly. The only time he takes a stand and says something definitively is, what was that last statement? Given the facts of the case, nothing will result.
Given that each was charged, there's little chance that either will be convicted. That's what they said.
There's little chance that either will be convicted.
Yes.
Unless Weigel is in Europe hiding because he's a human rights defender, that if he walks into a Connecticut court, it says right on his bail notice, when I got arrested on 5/19. All right, I turned it around. Ladies, if you can find it, I'll find it. We're going to post it here later. I looked over on the other side and it said, if you are, or if you're out on bail, even if it's a misdemeanor or a traffic violation, if you harass or threaten someone, it turns into a Class D felony, punishable up to 5 years. What do you think they want to do to Dave Weigel? Throw him in jail for 5 years, destroy his life's work, cut off the head of the Warrior Project.
I've heard from somebody who's actually gotten railroaded by Connecticut pretty hard, and that guy is a guy named Paul Boyne. I talked to that guy. He's in prison, and they gave him 20 years for speech. What he said to me, the first thing he said to me about your case, Dave, was that the best thing that you did was get out of the country, because if you were in the country, they would have used the Zoali Alvarez protective order, and they would have gotten one of those stingers with the phones and made it look like you called her with a ghost call, and then they would have came in and hit you with a felony. The best thing you can do is not be in the country, because that's the thing. They can't fabricate the record at this point with one of the stingers. And this is something that's known. That's what Connecticut, it's been known to happen, where they do the stingers and they do the fake calls where they ghost the call in. So,
But hold on, Rich, right? If you go back to my warehouse piece, the very, very first call that we got and we posted there, and we're going to put at the bottom here, all right, and in the evidence is, I got a call 15 minutes to 20 minutes before. Amy, are you there? I think it was 22 minutes before Walia actually showed up, all right, that we investigated and we put into Google, and it said that this telephone number was from the Connecticut Judiciary. I just started getting back with my kids from July. I don't live in Connecticut. I pay for the home in Connecticut, but I don't live there. And I had no cases, no anything. There's not a speeding ticket, zero. Why would I be getting a call 15 minutes before Zawalia and Carlos shows up, if not to ping my phone to see if I'm there?
Exactly what they did. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like it was an inside job. And if you were still there, they would have found another inside job way to get you. Accumulate this, add that, enhance it, make it into a felony. You're 100% right. I have no doubt in my mind that you're being hunted by the Alvarezes, their lawyers, and corrupt law enforcement related to the entire scam. So, why won't they give out the body cam footage? They know. They know the second that they hand out all the body cam footage, that it's going to contradict. It's going to contradict the statements that their lawyers massaged and made a week later in front of the judge. The ex parte order in front of the judge.
The Inter-American courts are going to subpoena the two missing, body cam footage.
There might be more than that, Dave. There might be more than that. There were at least 4 cops on the scene. Remember, there was the woman cop that handed her the thing. There's the the male cop. The other, there's at least 4 cops on the scene. We got 3 body cams.
At least two. The one interviewing me.
No, we know that there are 3. There are 2 men that were in your house, and we have the woman who handed her the summons. There's at least 3. I think there were 4, though. We don't have all the body cam footage. If this were a criminal trial, like a real criminal case, this case would be over on Brady. Okay, this case would be over on Brady.
And we haven't even talking about freaking Di Federico's ass buddy, Prado, okay, who showed up last, like the tough guy, saying, no, all right, you're getting 3rd-degree assault, and you're going to take it, right? And he was baiting me to try and get me to try and do something. I just sat there and just
this is the same thing that we see in family court all the time. One person runs in and to a judge and pours poison in the ear. My spouse is abusive. My spouse did this. My spouse did that. My spouse did this to the kids. My spouse did that. I need an emergency temporary order that I have full custody and control of my kids, that the person's got to be moved out of the house, this, that, and the other thing, right? The other person didn't have a say. This is David. They did the same thing to you a week later. A week after this body cam, they ran into the courthouse and had the same type of tactics where they poured poison in a judge's ears because they got the high-priced lawyer in town, and they got all the wheels greased the way that they needed to get. It's a disgrace. It really is.
I just want to make the distinction here and the connection between what happened in Ulster County. All right. When I went up there and I stood up and I stopped the proceeding for Helen Garber and I screamed at that judge and said, "You think you're in Russia here? The Warrior Project's on you. We're on you." And I thought I was going to get crushed by those court officers. And they showed me more respect than anything. I looked over my shoulder and I said, "You realize I'm on your side, right?" And then they said, "Yes, we do, sir." And I walked out. Not one of them took a step towards me. If anything, they were giving me nods. Same thing in New Canaan. Okay. I believe that everyone except for 2 people in New Canaan police are good police officers. They didn't want to do it. The guys that were there on the scene, they were trying to dispel. They were trying to de-escalate. They were professionals. All right. They didn't believe her shit at all, but they knew Di Federico's a fucking criminal. He's a fucking criminal, and they knew it, and they knew he was going to come in. They knew who I was. They knew what I do with the Warrior Project, okay? And they knew it was coming in. And you know what? All of them refused to do it. They had to wait for Prado to show up.
Here's your Ulster count. Do you remember this one? We'll put it
All right, we're going to do this again. This is David Weigel from the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project, sitting here at Ulster County Courthouse, here to support Helen Garber in her farce of an appearance date in trial, to show up for her assault against her 200-pound ex that was contrived and concocted and lied about and colluded by ringleader Elizabeth Faulkner.
Same thing here, Dave. A lawyer.
5 minutes ago, and I can't find it online. So, F you, Facebook. We'll keep doing this over and over until it shows up for the people. I just got kicked out, okay? We walked in to the court. There's about 7, 8 of us. And first thing the judge did was make us announce who we were. Everybody else sat there and said the first name, last name, and I'm a supporter. Got to me at the end. I said, Dave Weigel, Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. And then she immediately went into that it's come to the court's attention that there's been reporting on social media. No, not reporting to the press, reporting confidential information on social media. This is how they do it, people, okay? And she sat there and she said how there will be no providing documents to anyone outside this court. Are you out of your fucking mind? What do you think you are? I stood up. I said, how is that legal? How is that legal? You think you're in Russia? You think you're in Russia? And then I said, I am on you. I am on you. And I walked out calmly, and the officers of the court were awesome. They didn't attack me. They didn't tackle me. They even gave me a nod, right? As I'm walking out, I looked over my shoulder. I said, I'm on your side. And they gave me a nod. And I walked out by myself, quiet as a mouse, slow as possible, little stroll. And I'm absolutely livid sitting here. How do these words come out of this fat pig's mouth? She actually thinks she could get paid by the public and she could have complete confidentiality about her crimes. I want them to try. I want them to try and make Helen Garber pay for our reporting. This will blow up globally, absolutely globally. These people think they are entitled to do whatever they want to us. They're entitled to our kids. They're entitled to just make us a criminal if they decide that, we decide you're a criminal, that's the power that I have. No, you're just a fat pig in a robe. That's all you are, honey. That's all you are. And we're going to make sure that this entire society understands the level of treason you are committing against this country. Dave Weigel, signing off.
Didn't Mike Volpe say, well, it's not treason, really? It's not treason. Like, dude, you failed out of Wall Street, dude. Okay, all right. You feel like the guy who goes and gets my coffee every day is at a higher level than you. Okay, as far as intelligence,
Mike is an excellent reporter. Okay, I will say
not. He is not. The way he fucked my daughter 3 times in a row. Rich, we had the conversation before. Two times I told him. I said, my daughter is innocent. If anything, she kicked in cash just to be. Okay, it's her birthday party or whatever. My daughter doesn't even drink. Okay, right? And then when all of this stuff happened, but all of her friends do because there's no infrastructure because there's too many fucking attorneys in Connecticut. So there's no infrastructure for kids to do anything. That's why I brought my kids to Europe. I brought my daughter clubbing to go see what it's like to go dance. And no, it's not a drug den. It's just a bunch of teenagers having something to do on a Friday and Saturday night, which they don't have in Connecticut. So they have no choice but to sit there and drink in someone's basement and get pregnant at 18 years old. Great job, lawyers. Great job, lawyers. Right?
Yep.
And that's the problem. What happens when you create a town without a police force? What happens when you combine the nuclear combination of judicial discretion backed up by the largest regulatory fraud of all times? You get this. You get this Elizabeth Faulkner. Rich, how many? She's married 6 times. 3 were her clients.
Married a whole bunch of times to clients, and she found a better way to extract the money out of the client than being the lawyer and taking a third. She became the ex-spouse and took more than half.
And you know what? I want to tie in here, okay, in a respectful fashion, the fact that we do not even speak to Helen Garber anymore. Okay.
I talked to Helen. I have a good relationship with Helen. I know, David, you and Helen don't see the eye to eye on things, but Helen's a nice woman and she's still fighting. She's like a lot of other people out there that are fighting in the family court.
Rich, let me just tell you something. Okay. When she called me the Wednesday night at 1:00 in the morning, screaming and crying and saying, Dave, I'm going to lose my career. I'm going to lose my child. They're going to put me in jail. Everyone has turned their back. They're not showing up. Please do not abandon me either. Okay. That was the longest drive in the world out to Ulster County. I had to sit there and say to myself, I'm risking my children's future. But I said to myself, you know what? At least I'm going to earn a friend and a daughter that one day is going to be able to look at me and say, you see that man? That man stuck up for you when everybody turned their back. And instead, I'm not blaming Helen. I'm saying Helen is a torture victim. Science does not even have a word yet for the level of psychosis this family court system causes. I hold no grudge against Helen. All right. She gave the most backhanded thank you in the world because she didn't want to upset Bandy Lee. That's what it was about. All the women's groups were fighting for this for years and years and years. And here's this guy who comes in, and that's what it was about.
I want to show. Well, I put the wrong thing up. I'm going to show you something here. This is. Let's see. This is the one I want to put up. Let's get rid of that. Okay.
Thank you, Amy. It was 22 minutes before we got the call. 22 minutes before the Alvarezes showed up, we got a call from the number that registers as the Connecticut Judiciary. It will be posted in the comments here.
I want to
Thank
show.
you.
I want to show something on this point. Let this thing go through that I have.
Hold on one second. Can I just say one thing? One of the things that I was most proud of after doing what I did in Ulster County, all right, mind you, I don't know where her case is right now, but when I did that and everyone said, "Oh my God, Dave Weigel messes up your case," what was the reality? The reality was that judge recused herself.
The pig of a judge recused. The one you call the
pig
fat
of a
pig
judge
recused.
recused herself. Helen didn't go to jail. Helen didn't lose her career, and she didn't lose custody. And the new judge that came in upheld her First Amendment rights. That's called a Warrior Project success, people. Okay. Sorry to tell you, trolls. Now, ever since Helen, in the midst of her psychosis, had to ask Amy, what should I say to thank Dave Weigel for this? Okay. And Amy said, that's not how thank yous work, Helen. Okay. All right. But the thing is, what I was most proud of is this happened on, I want to believe it was a Thursday or a Thursday. Tuesday, Helen called me up and she said, Dave, I'm painting again. I'm painting. She's a painter. Okay. Yeah. She was so traumatized. And then what I did to stand up for her, she started painting again. And then you know what? The mafia machine of the feminazis, okay, couldn't stand the fact that it was a man who stuck up for a woman. Oh my God, it's so Neanderthalic. Okay?
Well, that's the point.
These women that they don't want equality; they want the patriarchy in reverse.
Well, let me tell you. Let me talk about this because this dovetails perfectly and about Helen and what's happening with Helen. False hope federal suit is the Women's Coalition of Fraud. I put this out on Sunday. Okay, this is a crazy Cindy Dumas right here driving the false hope machine, and she's gathered 107 women in New York, right in the Southern District of New York, to bring a lawsuit. The lawsuit is a dead on arrival lawsuit. And I wrote about this. Okay, and I will give you my opinion because this says it all in the first part. My opinion: family court victims have plenty of serious advocacy groups to turn to, including Dave Weigel's Family Court Fraud Warrior Project and Jill Jones Soderman's Foundation for Child Victims of Family Courts. Neither operates at the legally Bush League level displayed by the Women's Coalition here. False hope is the worst product anyone can sell to a parent already damaged by family court. Yet that is what I believe the Women's Coalition is selling, mixed with indignation, feminazi arrogance, and breathtaking stupidity. Tonight, I'm not laughing. I'm thinking about the 107 women and their children whose pain has been loaded into a federal complaint that still looks dead on arrival. I know some of them, and I feel sorry for every one of them.
All right, I hate to tell everybody,
now wait a second. We're going to go to this is Cindy Dumas. Stay the hell away from her. I'm staying the hell away from her. But look at this. This is the amended complaint that they filed, 814. Look at the second line. Women's Coalition, Tracy Cacavalli, Helen Garber. So Helen ran from the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. That's an effective advocacy group, and is in bed with the charlatans at this point with this lawsuit. And I really feel bad for her because I put a whole thing together about how this case is going nowhere for very important legal reasons called Younger Abstention Doctrine, Rooker-Feldman Doctrine, the Family Court Exception Doctrine. There's a lot of different doctrines here that they're not going to get passed. It's not going to get past a motion to dismiss. And they're going to say, no, you're in state court. You can't come to federal court. Go away. Bye-bye. And all they did was they loaded, they backhoed in 107 plaintiffs into this thing, giving them hope, taking their documents, making them believe that by them handing over their stuff that they're going to get somewhere legally. And I'll tell you, and I'm going to tell you just as from my own opinion, I think that the Warrior Project is one of the few people out there that's actually taking documents from people and doing something positive with them. You know, with the new human rights campaign that you guys are doing,
wait till you see our AI stack that's coming out. Wait till you see our AI stack.
I can't wait. The stuff that you're doing is innovative, but it's intelligent, it's technology based, and there's going to be a result. You know, Dave, you could run around and sell false hope. You can run around and get people to donate to you and give money and time and everything else, and then file a couple of frivolous lawsuits every now and then.
I'm
Come
paying
on.
$12,000 to $15,000 a month.
I know. That's it. That's the
For this
thing.
damn
You know, if this is a
That's going to be
if
on my
this is a
taxes. But nobody can believe that there's a guy out there that, you know, maybe is a millionaire and is a decent guy. And you know what? He got caught in a situation. And I'm going to tell you right now what birthed the Warrior Project. I was working with Charlie McCready, one of the top minds in parental alienation out of England. And I told him my plan about how I was going to attack them and use the media. And he gave me very quality advice based upon statistics and said, Dave, I've only seen this work horrifically against you. When you're dealing with a narcissist in a narcissist community, I've only seen it go bad. I said, Charlie, I get you, but I want you to stay with me. I believe I can do this. I believe I can do this. And when I won my kids back, I asked him, I said, Charlie, how many families have you consulted with over the years? He said, not quite 1,000, about for 15 years, not quite 1,000. I said, how many kids? How many people have you known to get their kids back by force the way I did? He goes like this, Dave, you're the first. And that's when I said, holy shit, I have to do something about this. I have to do something about this. I've never been particularly motivated about money. All I want is a nice car. I got my Porsche. Okay. I got a couple of nice watches. Everything else I want to pour into my kids. Okay. I don't give a shit about nice houses. I don't know. Maybe I have too large of a penis. Okay. But I don't need 35 cars. I don't need a huge house. Okay. I don't. What I want to have on my tombstone is I want to have a list of the children that I saved. Okay. Yeah. That's what I want. I don't want to leave a bank account. I want to leave a list of the children that I saved, the children that I brought back to loving parents. That's what I'm in this for. And you know what? People want to hate me for this. Why? Why is this so hard to believe, Rich? All right. Now let me back up. Let me back up a second from the beginning. All right. I said that this man, Rich Luthman, changed my life, and he did. I stepped in shit when I found this man, because this is the only guy in America that has had the guts to call it out. All right. Now, Rich was a rising star in the Democratic Party in New York, and too much of a rising star. All right. He was taking down people left, right, and center. And he was the result of a political hit. So all you trolls out there, and again, to the international community that we're talking to now, all right, I know you're going to take a look at the background and see that Richard Luthman spent some time in federal prison. That was a political hit. Okay. He unfortunately wasn't as smart as me as getting the hell out of the goddamn country in time, apparently. All right.
That's right.
And that's the worst. And that's your work. And that's the worst thing you did. And what did you do? After you came out and they disbarred you, you came out and you said, you know what? I'm fighting for the little guy now. And that's what you've been doing ever since. And I went from almost death, 7 grand mal seizures. Okay. And then I met you, and then you did this piece in December of 2023 that rewrote the story of Dave Weigel. And it went huge, and it went viral, and it gave me my life back. It gave me my children back. I can never thank you enough, Rich Luthman.
Well,
I can never,
Dave,
in a million years, I can never. You live with crosshairs on your back, man. You can't fly into like how many states in like.
I don't listen. They say not to go north of the Mason-Dixon line. I don't go north of the Florida Georgia line usually. I try not to leave the dirty South. You know, that's just how I am. But yeah, it's a tough thing. I can't go to New York right now. There's an arrest on site order for me in New York.
Rich, you gave me my children back. You gave me my children back. I'm friends with my ex now. You've been covering family court for how long? How many people do you know got their kids back? Their kids are in great mental health state. And
even after 5 arrests that the lawyers set up, including sending me to Rikers, okay, is now friends with their ex. You did that, Rich. You did that, okay? You did that because you were a card-carrying journalist and you had the legal background, and you decided after you got fucked, you were coming back and you were fighting for the little guy. All right. And this country owes Richard Luthman a debt of gratitude. And I just want to be on record for saying that. And I dare anyone to look at the body of his work and question that. And question that. This man has had the guts to put dirty judges and dirty attorneys' faces and names and the victims in print. And he didn't go the Mike Volpe allegedly. Weigel was allegedly 4,000 miles away. No, asshole, it's called a passport stamp. Okay? You can understand. You can go out on a limb, Mike Volpe, and say, this is a fraud. All right? And it's because of half of men like Mike Volpe that this country is in the position that it's in. Because he's more concerned about his readership than actually saving a goddamn
No, Mike
child.
is a good journalist. You have to understand that he does good work with the family court. He understands
But you
a
know
lot of
what?
what's going
Our
on.
country is where our
And we're
country
not
is
finished
because we got
we're
a bunch
not
of
finished
beta
with this.
males. A bunch of beta males that
Well,
are not
well,
Rich
we
Luthman.
have, Dave, we have a situation in this country that's called lawfare and the weaponization of justice. And family court is just another portion of it. They weaponize the justice system, and what they do is they do it in a way in family court where it's weaponized against all the parties, right? That's the thing. And the party that it actually hurts the most is the kids. That's the sick thing about this. And it's also at the same time a money making scheme. So even if you're not wealthy, if you don't have any money, then they go right to Title IV. They go to the government and they take the money out of the other taxpayers. So you tell people, why should I care about family court? You say, I'm not getting divorced, or I don't have any kids, or I'm not going to have to worry about that. No, every day you're paying for family court. Your tax dollars are going to Title IV, Title IV-B, Title IV-D, Title IV-E, Violence Against Women Act, all these other things that are federal carve-outs that all these court appointeds are using to rob the federal treasury blind, right? And in order to keep the fraud going. So this is an issue for everybody. If you don't think you're involved with family court, you are involved with family court. Where do you think the money comes from?
You know what my favorite explanation to all the Europeans that I'm meeting is? I phrase it very, very specifically. I say, listen, when America takes a big fat stinky shit, you guys smell it, don't you? They're like, yes, we do. And they all get it. Because you know what? Their fathers and their grandfathers told them stories about Stalin, about Hitler, about Mussolini. All right. They know what it's like to live in a country with no rights whatsoever. And we have a completely different audience over here because the journalists are not muzzled at all. And the politicians are pissed. Okay. This attack against the international criminal courts is horseshit. And the bottom line is the United States is 5% of the world's population. We're 25% of the world's prison population, but the other 95% of the world is pissed the fuck off now. All right. Pissed the fuck off. All right. And you know what? We don't need nukes to win this. What we need is 7 billion people to stand up and say, it's our world, not yours.
So we've been on, Dave, for a couple of hours already. It's been a good stream. I think we're doing well. I would say, let's wrap up, and then we have some more to do. We can always come back on a second version of this because I think that Volpe still has to go and try to get more body cam footage. And
when Volpe publicly apologizes to Marquesa Weigel for three times lying that she was involved in the purchase of illegal alcohol. No, she was not. It is not the same thing. You can Google it, okay?
A child that procures a fake identification, goes in and buys alcohol, is not the same as a child, one of 20, that happens to throw in some cash because she doesn't want to stand out and say, hey, come to my 17-year-old birthday party. But no, we can't do come on. I would like everyone here who hears these words, please raise your hand in the comments and say that you have never had a drop of alcohol before the age of 21. All right? If you have, I'd appreciate if you commented and said, yes, I have, okay? But according to Mike Volpe, for 3 times after paying him $2,500, 3 times he had to mention that my daughter was involved in a crime, in the illegal purchase of alcohol, which is not true. Why? Because he's a pussy. That's why. And I'm sorry. I know potentially Angela Merkel is paying attention here. I want to speak to the larger European community and the inter-American courts right now. I know you see somebody that's very, very, very emotional here, but I want to ask you, what is misrepresentation? Is talking about this not emotional when there's an industry built on family terrorism? When there's an industry built on destroying kids? Sitting here talking to Kate Mosley, Vibe, some of our new members, talking to people who sit there. And every time I talk to a member, what always brings tears to my eyes is when they sit there and they tell me, I haven't seen my children. And they always know the day, Rich, the day. 1,262 days. I haven't seen my children in 212 days. I haven't seen my children. I haven't been with my children. I have been there. I almost died from that. And my reaction and my level of energy is the only thing that is not misrepresentation. Yeah. These people need to be in The Hague and they need to be hung. Okay, because they're traitors to this country. They're destroying this country from the inside out. When you destroy the American family, you would destroy America. And that's what the family court is doing. And that's the way everyone in this country needs to look at anyone who works in the family courts, is look at them as the traitors to this country that they are. And I'm going to be here and I will work until they put me in a box until I get these motherfuckers to pay the price for what they've done to these families. We're going to sign off. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.